Down going. All right. So it's your boy, One Stupid Fuck here, with the dumbest, shittiest, nastiest, burning dumpster fire fucking podcast known to civilized man. I'm here with Dean Chitren. Is that right?
Yeah, Chitren, the chit.
Dean Chitren, the chit, and he's here. We're going to be talking about the TreasuryDirect account. Now, I know, just like myself, I know that there's been a lot of people who have tried to access their TreasuryDirect account. I've heard of a few very small amount of people accessing it successfully, mainly involving utility bills. And I tried one of my utility bills, and it didn't work. I tried a bunch of other things. And so just to give a little background on my end of the TreasuryDirect, so basically let me just think about this for 1 second. I did a whole bunch of different transactions, okay? And then what happened was someone mentioned to me, so the transactions will go through, as many people have seen, and then about 3 business days later, the transactions reverse, which I've had dozens of people sending me photos, evidence of this sort of thing happening, right? Now, I did some research on this, and I went down the rabbit hole a little bit. I had 15, 25 other projects that I was working on at that time, including my free course. So once I hit a couple walls, I just kind of dumped the TreasuryDirect, the whole thing. And I said, you know what, I'll pick this back up later at some point. So the big thing that I found was that the difference between FedWire and ACH. I'm sure you're familiar with this, Dean, right? The difference between the FedWire and the ACH. So that's when I looked that up. That's why it took 2 or 3 business days for the transaction to be reversed after you process the transaction, right? So I did that, didn't get anywhere, blah 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 blah, and then was it today or yesterday? You and I were talking a little bit, and you introduced to me some stuff that I thought was really fascinating, some forms involving the TreasuryDirect account, and I wanted to share those. But before I do, let's go ahead and I know we talked a little bit before we started recording here, but go ahead and give me a little bit of background on yourself, just like you did before, but in a more brief version, as well as kind of what you've done with the TreasuryDirect account in the past and what difficulties you've had, and then let's move into what you were talking about today and yesterday.
Yeah, so I ran across this really cool dude named Zeta back in 2017, and I was down this rabbit hole, but he seemed to be very knowledgeable, and so he assisted me in setting up a secure party status with the United States Treasury. And so, you get your birth certificate authenticated at the state level, and then the Secretary of State, and now you have the title. I have the title in my safe of that all caps name. Then you do UCC1, then you fill out some a bond, unlimited bond for settlement set-off, give some indemnity bonds, and you register, mail that all to the Treasury Department, and then it takes about 120 days for that contract to cure. And so now I am a secure party creditor. And so from 2017, even though I was a secure party creditor, I was still acting as a fucking debtor, still acting. And then in January this year, like you, I started spending 6 hours a day every day, just going deeper and deeper to be a creditor, not just a debtor.
Yeah.
And so in June, I tried to do something with my Social Security card and a birth certificate with one of the forms that the Fiscal Services has at the Bureau of Public Debt, and sent these in, and they returned to me and said, this is not an obligation of the United States. And that rang a bell. And so then today I went on.
Now, you're aware that obligation of the United States actually has a particular definition, right? I remember seeing that somewhere in the USC.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure if you want to sign anything, you use 4305B2. That's assignment of interest, and I think they made that code back in the 40s during the war days. And you're just assigning that obligation to the United States, and now they're obligated to that debt.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, because I remember seeing this somewhere, and I think I just found it. Give me 1 second here. We're going to be sharing a lot on this show. It's going to be exciting.
But if you look at obligation, then the obligor includes but is not limited to an individual, a trust, an estate, partnership, a corporation, or a sole proprietor.
Yeah, so we have here 18 U.S.C. subsection 8. We have the term obligation or other security of the United States includes all bonds, certificates of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve bank notes, coupons, United States notes, Treasury notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, fractional notes, certificates of deposit, bills, checks, or drafts for money drawn by or upon authorized officers of the United States, stamps, and other representatives of value of whatever denomination issued under any act of Congress and canceled United States stamps.
So while you're there, just type in 4305B2, and then that will give you the code that you, meaning anybody, can assign our interest to the United States, and it becomes their liability.
(4305B2).
Yeah.
Which section is it in?
It's just 4305B2. So just probably scroll down.
4305B2. I typed it in here.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that says war, probably. That's when they're doing the War Act, right there.
So
US
Title
code.
50.
Yep, that's it right there.
So hold on a second. Let me get. I'm going to get a different. B2. So right here.
Yep.
Okay. This is Title 50 for everybody watching. This is Title 50, U.S. Code, Section 4305, subsection B2. And we have any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein made to or for the account of the United States or as otherwise directed pursuant to this subdivision or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued herein shall, to the extent, therefore be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligation of the person making the same, and no person shall be held liable in any court or in respect to anything done or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on the subdivision. So wait a second. Is this saying basically essentially what HJR 192 and Public Law 73-10 was saying?
No, because I think that one's saying that the debts have been prepaid. This is just saying that you can take anything that's attached to your all caps name and assign interest to the United States, and that's it. They become a liability for it.
How do you assign interest? You have to be a secure party creditor to assign interest?
I don't think you do. I mean,
because how could a debtor assign interest? Only a creditor could assign interest. Is that right or is that wrong?
Any payment or conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein. So made for the account. So I stamp it every time that I'm assigning my interest or I don't want to have a liability.
So you basically run off the fact that you're sending them this interest, and then if they don't actively deny it within a certain amount of time, then the acquiescence makes it truth. Right.
Well, they're not going to send it back if you send those addresses that I have.
Okay. That makes sense. It's a little bit complicated too because the last one, this one here, it specifically says officer.
They're talking about securities, I believe, in this code.
Title 18, section 8. Okay. Well, it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting how that's going to work. Have you had? So now you discharge based off of those accounts, correct?
Yeah, you basically send it to I send it to the Treasury Department, and they're on such a backload. Like I filed a tax return in December of last year, and I finally got word from the IRS that I was missing a signature, and so I signed the signature in June, and so I'm still waiting on that return. but I filed another return in March, and I finally just got a letter from Kansas City the other day, and it says, we're holding your refund until we finish reviewing your tax return. You don't need to do anything. Just give us another 60 days.
And why are you filing tax returns? I'm a bit curious.
Yeah, so I haven't filed federal income taxes in probably a decade. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm filing tax returns is because they're information returns, and I'm giving information to the IRS so they can come in and settle these accounts that people have been trading on my name and Social Security number. Because any time that you give your name and Social Security number, that becomes an automatic contract. And whether they approve you or deny you for credit, they're going to monetize your digits. And so anytime that you give your Social, so when I filled out one of the returns, there was at least 75 W-4s that I wanted to cancel my contract with that corporation as an employee. Because remember, we're still all employees of the United States corporation.
Yeah.
And so when you sign your name and Social Security number, you're an employee, and you got to cancel that contract. And I believe that's done with the W-4. So I filled out the 1040. I did the 1040 voucher, the 1099 A's, C's, OIDs. And the moment you fill out an OID, that means someone's got to pay the tax. Well, I'm not paying the tax. I didn't make any money off my number. Those corporations, Citibank, Discover Card, Wells Fargo, anybody, and I'm 52 years young, and so I've been an entrepreneur all my life, so I've got a lot of credit out there that are open and floating securities that are being monetized by the Federal Reserve Board.
Yeah.
So that's why I did a return. I filled out 5 returns, 2 for 2019, 1 for 2020, and one for 2021. And then I did a 1040X for 2021, and from my research, the X goes back and settles out all the accounts.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the 1040X too much yet, so that's kind of new territory for me. So let's move on to the TreasuryDirect account. So the first thing that you showed me before that I thought was really fascinating, and the first thing that got me really interested in wanting to talk to you more, was title 22 CFR. What was it again? 335.2 or something. What was it?
Well, so first of all, it's the one that we're talking about is 31 CFR 225.2 definitions. 225.2? Yeah, definitions. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to find out what a custodian means. And a custodian means a Federal Reserve Bank, right there, right?
Yeah, there it is.
Government, or what is it? Or entity within the United States. So right there, it tells me, when we get to the next level, which is 363.27, the custodian, the Federal Reserve Bank, is the custodian in charge of my name and Social Security number.
Yeah, so I'm going to read this out loud just in case someone can't see the video on this. So custodian means a Federal Reserve Bank or an entity within the United States designated by such Federal Reserve Bank under terms and conditions prescribed by such Federal Reserve Bank, a depository specifically designated by the Secretary of the Treasury for purposes of this part, or such other entity as the Secretary of the Treasury may designate for purposes of this part. And that's the definition of custodian. And I think in simple English, what I'm reading here is basically that the Federal Reserve, or somebody that the Federal Reserve specifically appoints, ultimately is your custodian. But the Federal Reserve Bank is essentially the daddy, and then the daddy can hire a babysitter if he wants to. But essentially the whole point here is that your dad is for your minor account that you've had since you were born. So if you look on your birth certificate, you see a birthday, and then you also see a registration date, which is about 2 weeks or so after the birth date. That registration date is the date when the All Caps Trust Corporation was opened. Now, that All Caps Trust Corporation at that time, they put money in it as a representation of your future potential production, and they rolled that security up against the 1933 bankruptcy to fund and credit the bankruptcy. Am I accurate on this, or am I wrong on this?
Say that. I didn't get that last sentence.
You're basically crediting this account with money, and then you're pushing that account up against the bankruptcy to credit up against the bankruptcy of 1933. Is that correct?
So I'm looking at it a different way. When we're looking at the fiscal services, so if we look at the Bureau of Public Debt, which is an agency of the fiscal services, which is an agency of the Treasury. So that agency states in the CFR that a custodian is the Federal Reserve Bank, period.
Yes.
And
yes.
So the Federal Reserve Bank, and it states in some other codes we're going to get to in 363, the minor is the name and the Social Security number. And so since inception, on every account in this country, the Federal Reserve Bank is a custodian of all of us.
Yes.
And in that account, right, you could have, in that account, there's money there. We don't know how much.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the way that I'm looking at this approach is, if we go to the next level, which is, I think, 363.27, then we're going to start looking at what a minor account is.
All right, so 363 what is it again?
363.27. And you want to find the one, you want to find the one where all the definitions are at.
This is the one you sent me before.
Okay.
It's like a question and answer period kind of a thing.
Okay. Can I share a PDF with you through this machine?
Yeah, when you share the screen, you have to do share entire screen. If you share only a partial, it'll crash the recording. They're working on it on the technical side.
What if I send you a link to PDF that takes just a millisecond?
Yeah, you can put it in the chat of this exact, on the right-hand side, on the upper right, you're going to see Studio, Media, and Chat. If you put the link there, I can open it.
Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool, there we go. There you go.
There we go. Okay. I'm going to share the screen again. Let me just make sure. Oh, okay, good. Let me just share the screen. There we go. And here we go. Can you see this?
Yes. Yes, sir. So what do I need to know about accounts for minors who have not had a legal guardian, right?
Right here.
So to get back on my train of thought, I'm looking at these forms here at the TreasuryDirect, and we'll talk about the form numbers in a minute, but there was a certain line here, and it said...
I have 5511 open and 5512 here.
Cool. So if you go to 5512 and you look at that first box, if you want to share that first box.
Can you see it? I have her up right here.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. So in the parentheses there, it says, this includes all bonds in the primary account. So the primary account is held by the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the custodian, and it's referenced by your name and Social Security number. We don't know that account number. I don't know that account number.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they tell you in these statutes and codes here, it says in order to gain control, you have to first open a new TreasuryDirect account. This is something they did in 2004, and they just decided to just make everything not new Treasury account. They just started saying TreasuryDirect. So TreasuryDirect is the new TreasuryDirect account because it used to be the legacy.
Okay.
So what I did earlier in February is I opened an account at TreasuryDirect, really simple to do, and they give you an account number. Well, right now my account's locked because I tried some stuff in June to send my birth certificate and Social Security card, and I assigned it to the United States, but they sent me a letter back stating, and this is Treasury Retail Security Service, so it's not particularly, it says the documents submitted are not obligations of the United States of the Treasury, which makes sense because we're talking about this minor account. And so the minor account, it's always going to be called a minor account. But what you can do is you can link it, you can delink it, you can convert it, and you can take control of it. That's my...
Well, just real quick, when I think of letters and stuff from these agencies, I think of extremely literal wording, right? And when I think of... I'm going to unshare the screen for a second. When I think of sending in a certified copy of a bond, and they say this isn't an obligation of the United States, I feel like literally what they're saying is that this certified copy, which is not an original, is not an obligation of the United States. The certified copy of the bond that you have sent us, which isn't an original, isn't an obligation of the United States. Now, what do you think about that?
That's a great idea, but since it says not an obligation of the United States Treasury, that makes sense because it's the Federal Reserve's obligation.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. Because they're the
They're the custodian.
Custodian. Okay, good. Yeah.
Right. All the Treasury does is, I mean, they do so much shit, but so my account has been locked because they sent me this letter back, and so I spoke to TreasuryDirect today, and I have to fill out Form 5444, and all it is a authorization. And so on that form, you fill out your TreasuryDirect a number. So like I said, I have an account number at TreasuryDirect.
I have it up here on the screen for you.
Yeah. So you fill out, the top right line, you put in your account number, and then below it you put your Social Security number and your address, and then you take it to your bank and have them certify, because my bank is a Federal Reserve bank, and you have them certify it with their gold medallion. And then it takes 13 fucking weeks for them to process this information. Okay. So I'm going to send this to get my account unlocked, one thing, and then the other thing I'm going to do is the 5512. And so here, I'm going to put my TreasuryDirect account number, my name, and my Social Security number, and I'm going to check the first box that I want to redeem all my savings bonds listed in the requested TreasuryDirect account shown above.
Now let's stop right here. So my understanding of this, and I want to keep this as simple as possible for the people watching, because we're all fairly overwhelmed by the TreasuryDirect system, I imagine. So what's happening is there's a minor account that's been sitting there forever, okay? What you're doing is you're creating a new account as an adult above the age of 18, and then what you're doing is you're using this form, which is the FS 5512 form, to basically lay a claim to the minor account to grab all of the assets and bonds in the minor account and to move it and to deposit it into the now adult male person's account that you've now made. Is that a correct understanding of what this is?
Yeah, so now open up that PDF I shared with you, and then we'll get clarity on that. So now if we go to procedures for opening an account, which would be on the right column, letter C.
There it is. I see it.
And so these are the procedures. One, you have to open up a new account. Okay. And that might be. I'm sorry. That might be that might be on B over on the left side column. Open a new account in the name of the minor. Yeah. So this is not the document that I was reading specifically. Okay. Yeah. So yep. Okay. Cool. 7. Yep.
Number 7.
No, you're right. We're right when we were talking about the procedures for opening an account. So there's C, D, E, and then 2. The custodian may redeem savings bonds on behalf of the minor.
Okay.
The custodian may not purchase. The custodian may transfer a security to another TreasuryDirect account, which is a new one they're going to open, provided the account is linked, bearing the name and taxpayer identification number of the minor, which is me, you, everybody. Everybody's a minor until they claim it.
And that's what like David Strait is saying when he says claiming the minor estate. Is that right?
I'm not sure. He might be talking about the entire estate. I'm just talking specifically about TreasuryDirect and the Federal Reserve Board.
Okay.
Because the Federal Reserve Board, this is what we're talking about. I don't know that process. I just know this process here after doing extensive study and researching that the custodian, and then, so when the minor reaches the age of 18, the only transactions the custodian make in the minor's name after that age are to purchase new securities and to transfer securities contained in the minor's account to another account in the name and Social Security of the minor.
I see.
So now if we go back to what I just mentioned on 5512, so I want them to transfer into this new account that I've established. I'm the minor and my name and Social Security number. And we look at that parentheses. This includes all bonds in the primary account, which is the one the custodian has, and in any conversion, minor, or custom link accounts. Because my account at TreasuryDirect has no money in it, not the one that I opened, but I want to link the new one with the one that they've been custodian for 52 years.
Okay. And you mentioned before when we were talking on the phone, your TreasuryDirect account number is your full name and your Social Security number, right?
Yeah. So you can just go to if you go to that a site, TreasuryDirect.com, and hit apply. It'll walk you through how simple it is. You go to TreasuryDirect.com and take it right there. Open a new account. And they're going to ask you for some steps, and then they're going to verify it. If they can't verify it, then they're going to require you to fill out that stupid form that I got to fill out. It takes 13 weeks to verify.
Okay.
And so they're going to give you an account number, and it's going to be your name, whether you use your first, middle, last, whatever you put on there, and your Social Security number. That's your TreasuryDirect account number. Okay.
Yeah, I think I did open one of these back in the day when I was fucking around with this, and I just didn't do anything more with it. Maybe I'll fill out one of these 5512s and just send it in.
Yeah. Make sure you send along the 5444 to verify that it's you, so you don't have to wait 26 weeks.
So send the 5444 along with the 5512 to the Bureau of Fiscal Services?
Yeah, because it's just stating that's who manages the account. That's the agency. The agency is Bureau of Public Debt, comma, Fiscal Services, comma, Treasury. Because all the 5444 does is just verifies that you are who you say you are.
Yeah, of course. Interesting. This bureau was opened as part of the Reorganization Act of 1939. That's interesting.
Yep, and it's all under Title 31.
Yeah. So as of now, this is just a theory for you to get this to work. You're not sure if this is going to work, but it is damn simple.
Yeah,
I like simple things.
And then there's a whole bunch of other forms. I mean, if I had the minor account number, well, then I know it would work perfectly.
How would you get something like that?
Well, that's what I'm going to do with these documents here. I'm going to type up a letter and state the facts of who I am and my status with the United States Corporation, and then I'm not lost at sea, and I'm coming in to redeem all these accounts and transfer it into my own account.
You're just going to do like an affidavit and send it with the 5512 and the 5444, or how are you going to do it?
Yeah, affidavit and an instruction letter. Like every time I fill out the returns, the information returns with the IRS, I give them a letter. It's a full-page letter of instructions of what I'd like them to do.
Okay, I'm tracking with you. And when are you planning on sending all this?
After I redo another secure party agreement with a trust that I sent to Treasury.
Okay.
So I in 2017, I became a secure party creditor with the United States Treasury Department. And I know that I operate in the private because I've recently been pulled over last year by the cops, speeding, guns in the car, and within 3 minutes of them running my information on their system, they just came back and just totally changed. Hey, we've had some complaints in the neighborhood. Please slow down. Have a nice night.
Yeah.
So I want to update some things that have changed in 5 years and inform the corporation that I'm doing business with.
I love it, man. Well, keep us all posted. I think I might send some of this stuff in myself and see what happens, because I believe I already have a TreasuryDirect account, and I don't think they made me fill out a 5444 to open my account, but I haven't done any transactions on the account.
They won't. If they can verify your driver's license, because you got to give them your driver's license and expiration date and all that stuff to verify your identity on that 3-page application on that website.
Okay.
And they, like when I did mine in February, they sent me an email and I was in.
Okay.
But but after I sent that letter to this department, they locked my account, and I talked to them today. It said T13 administrative fraud, and really I couldn't get any remedy. They wouldn't help me.
Okay.
And so I tried to open up a new account today with a different email address, and they opened it. And then they sent me an email that says, we can't verify your information. So the system knows that something's going on.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, my friend, this is pretty amazing stuff. I'm digging this. It's an interesting new inroads on this whole thing, and it makes perfect sense. And
I mean, if you're what I would recommend to your listeners and viewers is to start off by getting your birth certificates law informed and get it authenticated by the state they were born, and then send that to the Secretary of State in D.C. and get an authenticated birth certificate. And now, no matter what, you're the title holder of that property.
Okay.
And then write out some bonds based on House Joint Resolution, an unlimited bond for set off. That way, if someone sends you something, it's an offer. You can accept it. You can do a conditional acceptance, or you can refuse it. Either way.
Yeah.
And so I tested this out back in 2018, and I parked in a spot, and I got a ticket. And I tried to sign the ticket with the way you sign, and that didn't work. They sent me a letter to appear in court. I ignored it, and they sent me another one to summons to court. And so that's when I took that letter and I signed it, accepted for value, exempt from levy, and put my bond number at Treasury and wrote a letter to the clerk's office stating what I'd like her to do. And that was it. I never went to court. My license was still valid. There was no warrants for my arrest. So that was 4 years ago.
Wow. And you said it's still listed in the computer, though, right?
Yeah. So I've been wanting, after following your free course about killing contracts, I wanted to start killing some contracts that I really didn't know about. And I'm like, I didn't even think about looking on public records. And I've got cases in this county. I've been here 20-something years that my name's on a case, but it was never for me. And so I printed off all those cases, and I'm going to write a letter to the Secretary of State, the State's Attorney's Office, and then the clerk's office, and tell them to remove this, and they have 14 days to do it.
Okay.
Public record. I don't want it out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's so fascinating. Yeah, because it's like they just use these accounts as bonds, and they just discharge things off of them, and it's just this kind of never-ending circus.
Yeah, it is.
All right, my friend.
You've been doing a lot of good stuff. I wanted to share a little show and tell for you.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's a Desert Eagle 50 caliber. I love it.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love it. I'm in the middle of building my first AR-15 right now, and everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. It's kind of silly, but yeah, it's a beautiful firearm, and I do love me some firearms. I love me some Desert Eagles. I remember when I was young, my uncle, who was a sniper in the Marines, he used to train snipers, actually. And him and I were both big Duke Nukem fans. Remember Duke Nukem?
I'm not sure I do.
So Duke Nukem was this guy. He's the best. He's Nukem. So way back in the day, around the same time that Doom. Remember Doom, the computer game? So around that same time when that came out, there was this guy named Duke Nukem, okay, and I just shared my screen. This is actually a screenshot from way back in whatever it was, the 90s or whatever, when this was big. But you have, what is this, 1996, 1997? It was released April 24th, 1996. Kind of, I think, around the same time as the Wolfenstein 3D and the Doom games were released in the 90s, and it's just this like badass dude who goes around and is saving the world from an alien invasion, and there's like strippers and stuff, and you can like blow everybody up, and he says stupid one-liners like, "Ooh, that's gotta hurt," or like, "Oh yeah, shake it, baby," and he's just this like badass, like super manly, super badass dude, and everything that you see him in is like badass. This is the original image of the original game, where it's like, just this badass militaristic type guy, and his main weapon that was like his signature weapon was the Desert Eagle 50 caliber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That gun right there looks almost exactly like the main one that he would use and everything. So my uncle, I remember one time I went to my uncle's house, and he's like, "Hey, I got to show you something." I'm like, "Yeah, uncle." I was like probably 8 years old or something, and he goes, "Come here." And he has this big digital safe, and it's in this gun room where he would press bullets from scratch, right? And he opens up the gun safe, and he pulls out the Desert Eagle, and he gives it to me, and I go, "Uncle Scott," I said, this is just like Duke Nukem. And he goes, "Exactly, that's why I bought it." And I was so little, and this gun was so fucking big, I couldn't even hold it. It was like knocking me down. It was like holding me down. I said, "Uncle Scott, I can't even hold this thing." He goes, "I know, it's pretty heavy." And he picks it up and he puts it back in the gun safe. And I never forgot about that, man. That was a real. It's almost like a celebrity sighting. You know what I mean? 50 caliber Desert Eagle is it's a big boy.
How big that is, yeah.
It's a big boy.
I shoot pistols right-handed, but rifle left-handed. I learned that when I was in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful,
Man. That's a beautiful firearm. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Well, you got any other nuggets of knowledge to share with us? Or are you spent here?
No, man. I don't think I have anything else to share other than, we're at a great awakening, a shift of energy. And
oh yeah.
The more people that learn about the fraud and the codes, let's talk a little bit about the passport. Just the luxury of being an internationally protected person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing that, hey, listen, I'm not here to do any harm, Mr. Officer. Yeah, most people want to resistance. I don't answer questions like, hey man, what do you want? Run me information.
Yeah.
But if you try and detain me, we can espouse all kinds of things like 1545 and 18112 and 18242 and 241 for more than two, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. The only reason why I ended up at one point in time mentioning the I don't answer questions part was actually because of the definition of the word communication. Did you ever see that definition?
I'm not sure.
It's pretty fucking wild. Check this out. This really shocked me quite a lot, actually. And this is actually why I originally started mentioning the I don't answer questions. I mean, obviously, everyone has their
I
own.
will share this, though, for all those that don't drink, Stella Artois came out with a new non-alcoholic beer that's pretty refreshing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Communication.
But there's one thing I want everyone to take away from this this call today is custodian. It states right there in the Code of Regulations that a custodian is the Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes sense, obviously. I mean, they're behind everything.
And we all have a minor account that they've been the custodian in since we were born.
Yeah.
And there's a monetary value attached to those accounts, and you might as well get it.
Oh, God, yes. Communication. Where in the fuck is this word? There it is. So check out this. This is pretty wild. Communication. Information given. The sharing of knowledge by one with another. Conference. Consultation or bargaining. Preparatory to making a contract. This is the part that really shocked me right here.
Preparatory before making a contract.
So it's almost like, well, does that mean that there's intent to contract? And that was kind of the part where I got a little bit like, interesting, right? And you have here intercourse, connection, also the Masonic equivalent for the word meeting is the last part of the definition.
Ooh. What does meeting mean?
Good question. I mean, if we go down to meeting.
If they're talking about the Masonics, I'd like to know what the word meeting means.
Meeting. Let's see here. Meeting. Meeting of the minds, Let's see here. Meeting. A coming together of persons, an assembly, particularly in law, an assembling of a number of persons for the purpose of discussing and acting upon some matter or matters in which they have a common interest. Called meeting.
Okay, cool.
Oops, hold on, let's see here.
So let me ask you a question. Where did you find specific written word, the difference between a 4-star and a 5-star passport? Because I haven't been able to find that. And that
it's not super clear, but I will show you. It's 22 CFR 51.3. Under types of passports, right here you can see on the screen, you have Section A as regular passport. So I just counted these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is C1, C2, C3, C4, and then A. I basically made number 5. There are a couple of other weird ones, but
so what is a 1-star based on this code? That's what I don't get, right? So because I have a 4-star passport and I wasn't harmed, I wasn't bothered, I was let go without.
I'm assuming a 4-star from everything that I've researched is C4, which is an official or employee of a state, local, tribal, or territorial government traveling abroad to carry out official duties in support of the U.S. government. So you're basically essentially like a PR arm of the U.S. government, but you are an official of some sort of external foreign government. So this would be the one where you're still sort of like vaguely tied into the federal corporation, but you are essentially a foreign government.
And nothing against you, Brandon, but that just seems like your opinion.
It is my opinion. Exactly.
Okay.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And
the reason why is because if you think 5 stars, if there's 5 stars, there's 5 options, right? Because you do have the diplomatic passports that you can pay to get, like $100,000.
Right, those are the different color. But if you go back up to 1, right, because it says person, right?
Yeah.
The regular passport is issued a 1. I can't see it. 1.
Section A, regular passport, is issued to a national of the United States.
Right. Okay, but again, if you look at, and again, this is where I want to make sure that we don't make mistakes. If you look at the code, national United States still refers to a person, I believe. It's not a state national. That's because I went over these codes after looking at some stuff the past couple of weeks. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm just trying to find out how the State Department determines the difference between a 4-star and a 5-star.
Like I said, my opinion and the best thing that I can determine at this time is A versus C4.
Gotcha.
Is that right? Is that wrong? I have no idea, but I literally have no other information to offer on the subject.
Makes sense.
Because C4 is basically a national, but still going abroad in order to carry out official duties in support of the U.S. government. So that's kind of like, and then A is just, there is absolutely no necessary connection or intention associated with it at all.
Cool.
So technically C4, you are still an officer or employee of a foreign government. So, despite intentions and the intention to travel abroad to carry out official duties in support of the U.S. government, I don't really know exactly how that changes their view between a C4 and an A.
Well, if anybody's listening and knows the answer and can reach out to Brandon, that'd be great.
I would love to. I would love to find out more about that.
To reach out to Brandon or me, or just say, "Hey, listen, this is what we found because we work at the State Department." I'd love to know the internal memos of the State Department.
Yeah, and ironically, I have had some people from the government. One woman in particular reached out to me a while ago, but she wasn't in the State Department. She was in like a Treasury area, something like that. I don't remember where she was exactly, but her and I were talking for a while, and she was really shocked about all this information. And then she started sharing it all through her department, and then, ironically, I haven't heard it from her since. So, who knows? Who knows, right? Who knows? But it's a very interesting. I do find it fascinating how much all of this is exploding, and it does seem very sudden because a lot of this information has been floating around. A lot of the books and stuff and a lot of the main resources that I've accessed to learn all this stuff came out around 2010, 2012, right in that area is kind of when a lot of this information, prior to that point, if you meet someone who was doing a lot of this stuff prior to that point, there wasn't very much they could even access. I mean, you'd have to go down to the law library or something and go read this stuff from scratch on your own, really. I mean, that's how a lot of these old school guys did it. But then around 2010, 2011, 2012, all these books, all these publications started coming out by all these different guys. And then here we are about 10 years later, all of a sudden, I'm sure COVID obviously had a big part of it, but it is interesting to me that it's this 10-year lag, it almost seems like.
What are your thoughts on Patrick Devine when he was talking about the private banker's EIN and that kind of stuff? Did you go down that rabbit hole?
No, I haven't done too much with Patrick Devine. It was a bit over my head. I'm trying to locate. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to locate all the stuff that I can boil down into like a really easy to consume simplicity. I'm trying to bring a lot of this information down to the ground floor because for two reasons. First off, because I think it's a really effective method for people to have access to the information. And second, because I've had so many people who have started to dig into all this stuff. I mean, almost everybody who watches my course, they just go apeshit, like some kind of like crazy bunny, you know what I mean? And they start digging through fucking everything, and they find all sorts of crazy shit. So if there's 10,000 of us, which isn't really that many, but it's a lot if you think about it, just going apeshit. Just digging through all this shit. We're going to be able to sort out a lot of these accounts and a lot of this money and everything. Even if they try to shift it and hide it and all this, there's going to hit a point of critical mass where they're not going to be able to shift it. Because as soon as they shift it, all the rabbits are already digging into their new hole and they're fucked already within 10 seconds. Once that happens, that's going to be the end of the story. Now, the past few days have been really interesting for me because I've been thinking a lot about this. Now, you have HJR 192, which was repealed and replaced by Public Law 73-10, and then that was repealed. Now, I was looking through Title 18, and I read all of Title 18 recently, And I found something very, very interesting. I found basically a big slice, of HJR 192 and Public Law 73-10 right in the U.S. Code, and I created a liens, a Title 18 liens section on my state national theory page, and in the financial infractions and criminal, whatever. So here, I'll share this today on this show. We have Title 18, section, I think it's section 891, 18 USC 891. And I found a piece of HJR 192 73-10, and I'm actually going to use this on a conditional acceptance that I'm writing right now. This is, in my opinion, this is fucking huge, because this is like an active, right now, totally legitimate code that has never been redacted or changed or anything, and can be used right now, and there's nothing they can say about it, right? Look at number 1 and number 4. Number 1 says, to extend credit means to make or renew any loan or to enter into any agreement, tacit or express, whereby the repayment or satisfaction of any debt or claim, whether acknowledged or disputed, valid or invalid, and however arising, may or will be deferred. Now, this is a really complicated way, as far as I can tell, of saying that
all debts are prepaid.
All debts are prepaid, and they're all prepaid and deferred to be paid. If they're not already prepaid, they're deferred to be paid in the future once money is redistributed into the society, essentially, right? Because may or will be deferred, right? And then section number 4 is the repayment of any. This one fucking ripped my skull right off. This is like the HJR Public Law 73-10 of December 7th, 2022. The repayment of any extension of credit includes the repayment, satisfaction, or discharge in whole or in part of any debt or claim acknowledged or disputed, valid or invalid, resulting from or in connection with that extension of credit. So what they're doing here is they're defining the word repayment by saying a discharge is by definition a repayment.
Cool. So now go up and read who's the creditor and who's the debtor. What's that definition? The term creditor, with reference to any given extension of credit, refers to any person making that extension of credit, or to any person claiming by, under, or through any person making that extension of credit. Now, this one's a little bit strange because, for example, a credit card, I would argue that the person who is signing the credit card application, creating the negotiable instrument from scratch, would be considered the creditor. Right. That's what I'm trying to find out. How does these freaking codes say that, right? Because I'm always saying that too. Because when you look at the 1099As and the Cs and the OIDs, who's the creditor, right?
Exactly.
Well, I'm the creditor.
You're the one creating the negotiable instrument.
Yeah, and it's my Social Security number.
Exactly.
Right.
And even more, like, theoretically, or even more philosophizing beyond that, even beyond a Social Security number, your future potential production is what creates the credit.
Okay.
The Social Security number represents your future potential production. But even if a person were born and the parents never signed an SS5 and opened up a Social Security account with them, their credit would still be based off of their future potential production, right? That's why I think that way. I think in terms of.
So my theory goes like this as far as how much is in your account, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that you buy one share of AT&T and for $50 and never do anything with it, and then I buy one share and I keep reinvesting. I buy more shares and keep reinvesting. My accounts could be higher. So if you're an entrepreneur and you used your Social Security number on 100, 200, 500 different credit applications over a 30-year period, your account's going to be a lot more.
Well, yeah, because you're creating those bonds. You're creating negotiable instruments each time you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really focusing some energy on this fiscal services and this TreasuryDirect to get the custodian to transfer my minor account to me, the rightful owner.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And then it says here the term debtor, with reference to any given extension of credit, refers to any person to whom the extension of credit is made, or to any person who guarantees the repayment of that extension of credit, or in any manner undertakes to indemnify the creditor against loss resulting from the failure of any person to whom that extension of credit. Okay, this is really interesting. I'm realizing something reading this. You know what I think all debts and mortgages and credit cards really are? The bank is the facilitator. You as the living man is the creditor, and the all caps name, the trust, is the debtor, actually.
Correct. Yeah. So Discover Card's a conversion agent.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've thought about this a little bit, but now that I'm reading this, I think it makes more sense to me now.
Yeah. So I'm the creditor and the debtor, and I'm signing a contract with myself, and Discover Card and American Express and ABC Mortgage is the conversion agent, who is licensed with the Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the Federal
as
Reserve
an agent.
Yeah, and the Federal Reserve Bank is going to use their Fed wire to transfer accounts from A to B on behalf of C.
Yeah, so they're basically working as an agent for the Federal Reserve, which is the custodian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good show, man. You're a rock star, and I just want to tell you, I signed my dad up back in the summer, and my nephew, and my nephew lives with my dad, and my nephew's like, man, he cuss a fucking lot, and my dad's like, he's like, just listen to the fucking message. Just understand the message. Forget about the pickles and the dicks and the plugs in your ass. Just listen to the message.
It's so funny. Well, obviously what I was trying to do and what I'm still trying to do is bring some entertainment and some fun to this whole area. This whole area is so, people are just so irritated about we've been getting fucked in the ass for hundreds of years. And you know what? People are angry about it. And I just thought to myself, there's just no way I'm ever going to get anywhere in this area unless I find a way to pick it up and make it fun, because it's just not, you know what I mean? It's just not fun. It's just it's a very upsetting, irritating, it's filled with a lot of betrayal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one minute you got 2 windows open, next minute you got 35 windows open. And you're like, wait a minute, where was I at? So before this call, I probably had 40 windows open. Yeah. And right now I think I have 5, 10, 15 plus this call.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know. Trust me, I know. I try not to let myself go more than a few. If I go more than a few, I usually just, I restructure whatever I'm studying, or I try to do something else, or I just say fuck it, like the TreasuryDirect account. I just say fuck it and throw it in the corner, and fucking 4 months later, somebody comes up with something and I pick it back up again. You know what I mean? I think there's so many different avenues that you can go down with all this information that you really shouldn't sit in a corner looking at just one thing, bashing your skull in for the next year. I say fuck it, throw that goddamn thing in the corner, let it just sit there. And there's, 40 other things you could be looking at. You know what I mean? And I think that it's really important to always keep yourself, giving yourself wins, giving yourself successes in an area. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have any successes, it's going to be a massive morale destroyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this letter is dated June 30th, so I haven't touched that since June 30th until 2 days ago when I came across this information and messaged it today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it, man. Well,
cool, man. Appreciate you having me on here, bud.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll put this up and I'll send you a link, and really appreciate you coming on the show, Dean. This is a lot of fun, man. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas in 2022.
You too, my friend. Thank you so much.
See you.
Bye-bye.